Hello everyone, it's Fred again from Notes of a Nomad. This is video number 60, I believe. Last video I mentioned working for Control Data and the million-dollar computers that we were involved with. After a couple years working and selling their cybernet services to the mining industry, I moved to another company selling prime mini computers. Now, what is a mini computer? Today, they don't even exist. But this particular company, Prime Computers, existed from 1972 to 1992, 20 years before they were obsolete. The competition in those days were Digital Equipment Corporation, or DEC, Data General, and the only company that you might recognize, Hewlett-Packard. They were the competitors. And Prime's computers were, well, let me try and show you a picture. This was an example of what a mini computer looked like. Now there was, I think that was Prime 550 with the tape drive. You can see the tape drive in the middle there. And these had only a few megabytes of memory. I believe the 550 had 2 megabytes of memory and 500 megabytes of disk space. And those cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, these mini computers. The largest computer while I was there was the 750, and this went up to between 2 and 8 megabytes of memory. It was called a super mini computer, one of the most powerful mini computers of its time in the early 1980s when I was selling some of their products in South Africa. And this really brings me to what I wanted to talk about is change. I mean, just look at the change. That was 40 years ago. And change that has happened in technology, and it's impacting our lives enormous. Because those computers, those mini computers, when we talk about 2 to 8 megabytes on the most powerful mini computer that was selling in those 40 years ago, and I now have gigabytes on my phone, and it's just absolutely amazing. And the storage was 500 megabytes, and the disks, we're talking gigabytes, terabytes, and even larger now. So what does the change mean? Well, there's a great example of change. I'm trying to think, and I've explained this to my grandchildren, if no one else hopefully says, look at what's happened in the 40 years since I worked and sold prime mini computers. A great example is Starlink. You may be aware and heard about the satellites for internet access that Elon Musk's company Starlink is putting up with by their SpaceX rockets, etc. And a great example of the impact that can have, that change, is a great story that I heard recently in the past few months. A organization in northwestern Ontario helped a remote town of 3,000 people. When I mean remote, this is First Nations in northwestern Ontario. I'm going to mispronounce the name of the town, but it was Pikanikuakam. And the 3,000 people, if they wanted to do anything, if they wanted to go to school and go to college, medical, counseling, legal things, had to fly out. There's no roads into this small community. And the internet was extremely limited, maybe 3 megabits per second, very, very useless. And an organization has helped implement Elon Musk's Starlink in the beta that's in Ontario at the moment available. And the change, it has changed the lives of the people in that community, in that remote community in northwestern Ontario, 3,000 people. They can now, you know, communicate with their relatives without having to travel. They can talk to lawyers, get legal assistance without having to travel, or people travel in or travel out. Medical, they don't have to travel in and out to see a doctor and get consulted on medical. And then, of course, education. Young people now can go to college without having to leave. They can take college courses. And who knows, maybe the next Elon Musk or Albert Einstein is in that community. But just think of the change that's happened in the past 40 years. What's going to happen in the next 40 years when the rest of the world, throughout Africa, Asia, everywhere, have access to that type of services? Where is the next Albert Einstein or Elon Musk? Maybe in Africa somewhere. Who knows where? South America, anywhere, remote. So those are the changes that is happening. And just the, from selling prime mini computers 40 years ago to now, to what's going to be like when my grandchildren are 40 years from now. What's going to be like? It's hard to imagine. But the change that's happening is inevitable. And that was a great example of what I've done and seen in my life. And that's only a small change. It's going exponentially. So with that, I will say au revoir till next time, and I'll tell you where I went from selling prime mini computers to in the next video. So au revoir, adios, wishing you and your family and friends lots of love and laughter. Bye for now from Fred and Notes of a Nomad.